In 2015, during the 70-year anniversary of the end of the Second World War in China, mainland Chinese state-run media published an article claiming that during the war, the Chinese Communist 8th Route Army and the New Fourth Army fought approximately 125,000 engagements against the Japanese and wiped out more than 527,000 Japanese troops, along with 1.186 million Chinese collaborators who fought for Japan. This article was subsequently republished on the website of the State Council of the People's Republic of China, giving these figures an official stamp of approval from the Chinese mainland authorities. But these numbers deserve skepticism and scrutiny. I oftentimes wonder, where did the figure 1.186 million defeated Chinese collaborator troops come from? Because in the records of the history of the war, that number just simply doesn't exist. In 1940, Japan established a puppet government known as the Reorganized Government of China to better administer the Japanese occupied territories. This government is also known as the Wang Jingwei regime, named after its leader, Wang Jingwei. This puppet government was permitted to raise its own army, commonly known as the Heping Jianguojun, the Peace National Construction Army. Its headquarters was in Japanese-occupied Nanjing. Western historian Philip Jowett, in his book Rays of the Rising Sun, places the maximum strength of the Peace National Construction Army at around 683,000 troops. Japan intentionally restricted the size and equipment of these troops because they didn't fully trust their Chinese collaborator allies. Even Chinese sources like the Baidu Encyclopedia, which is a mainland Chinese website, places the total strength of the Heping Jianguojun, the Peace National Construction Army, at roughly 650,000 by 1945. Then there was another puppet state that the Japanese established in northeast China known as Manchukuo. Manchukuo also had its own army, which numbered roughly around 200,000 by 1945. Adding the numbers of these two forces together, we are still nowhere near 1.186 million. The situation becomes even more questionable when we consider that the Chinese Communist forces during the Second World War did not capture or destroy every single Chinese collaborationist formation. Large numbers of Chinese collaborator troops surrendered to the nationalist government and the nationalist army led by Chiang Kai-shek in 1945. Recall that it was Chiang Kai-shek's National Army which returned to Nanjing in September 1945 to accept the surrender of the Japanese and their collaborators. Nanjing, being the headquarters of the Chinese collaborationist army, was where most of their forces were concentrated. So most of the Chinese collaborators and their puppet soldiers surrendered to Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalist army. In Manchuria, it was not the 8th Route Army which defeated Manchukuo. It was the Soviet Union. It was the Soviet Red Army in August which destroyed the Japanese and Manchukuo forces there. So how exactly did the Chinese Communists destroy 1.86 million Chinese collaborator soldiers? It doesn't make any sense. So this makes the rest of their claim very questionable. The Chinese Communists claim that they fought 125,000 engagements against the Japanese during the Second World War in China. Now, what exactly counts as a battle or engagements in their terminology? An ambush? A raid? An act of sabotage? Maybe a few partisans shooting a few pot shots above the Japanese and running away and calling it guerrilla warfare? There's no transparent definition. So the number itself, 125,000 engagements, proves very little. Now, this doesn't mean that the 8th Route Army and New Fourth Army never fought the Japanese. They did. But the issue is scale and scope. The Chinese Communists oftentimes claim that they are the leading force. They were the leading force in the war against Japan during the Second World War. And they minimized the contribution of the nationalist government of Chiang Kai-shek. When in reality, it was the nationalist government of Chiang Kai-shek which bore the brunt of the Japanese invasion of China and fought most of the conventional battles. It was the nationalist army of Chiang Kai-shek which, from 1937 to 1945, fought 22 major campaigns against the Japanese involving more than 200,000 troops on each side. And this is precisely why the statistics of Chinese communists deserve scrutiny rather than acceptance.